sleep-deprived, tired, empty gas tank in the car, but a full gas tank in both of us because it's Power Rankings Week. Elite Premier Power Rankings coming at you from the most powerful broadcasting duo in the world, the Dan K Show. It's time, but before that, look down below the screen. What's that? A subscribe button and a little bell. Hit the subscribe button, do it right now, and ring that bell for us. Hit that bell before we get started. We'll give you a second. All right, let's do this. Power Rankings time. All right, it is finally here. The first time this season, it's time for the Premier and Elite Power Rankings. And as we always do, we start here with the Elite, Lucas, the USPHL Elite. And before we start throwing numbers out there, I'm going to look to my left-hand man, my consigliere, mon frère, mon petit sandwich au jambon this week avec fromage. And a guy who is the smartest man I know, except for when it comes to head-to-head competition in power rankings. We'll argue about that a little bit later. That's a bit of a teaser. But, Lucas, before we start that, I can do my three things. I almost skipped them. Almost. Thing number one, thank you, Hampton Roads Whalers. Thank you, Southeast Division. Thank you, Florida Division. Thank you, Metro Jets. Thank you, everyone in attendance down in Chesapeake, Virginia this week. The South Showcase presented by the Hampton Roads Whalers was an absolute thing of beauty. One of the best showcases, I'd say the best showcase we've been to.
Yeah,
I think we agree on that one. Chef Troy, thing number two. Chef Troy, my Lanta, the first ever non-player star of the game. Ever. He's got the hat, got the star of the game hat. Thank you so much, Chef Troy. Thing number three, thanks, Producer Lena. Producer Lena, I don't know if anybody saw, but 15 games worth of photos from this young lady all throughout the weekend, handling our social media while we were busy on the broadcast duties, losing our voices as you can hear. Producer Lena, as you all know, takes pictures of each goaltender at every game and all of the goal scorers. So she's not out there taking 9 million pictures, folks, just so you know, but she is taking pictures of anyone who scores a goal and the goaltender. So guess what, guys? You want photos taken of you? You want those photos for the gram? You want that new gram biopic? Score it, baby. Put it in the back of the net. And with that, now we start our power rankings. Let's go, Lucas. Elite. Give me number 10. What team is it? Number 10 in the Elite. Again, we go top 10. Top 10 in the Elite, top in the Premier.
Number 10 is the Atlanta Mad Hatters.
And this is an interesting one here, the Atlanta Mad Hatters. This is a team that you look at the record, and the record doesn't scream to you top 10 power ranking squad. But then you look at the opponents, Lucas, and that's where you start to kind of go, oh, I get it. The toughest strength of schedule in losses in the USPHL Elite. They have played and lost to the Eels, the Rush, the Hitmen, and the Hampton Roads Whalers, all teams that you may see here in this top 10.
Yeah, that's a tough schedule for the first couple games of the season. You know, this first month of September can be difficult for a lot of teams. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You're figuring out your identity, and to be thrown into the meat grinder like that and to come away with two wins out of that is incredible. I think the Mad Hatters have a big upside, and they make the top 10.
Also, very nice jerseys. Lucas likes them a little more than I do, but you love them. Right?
I'm a huge fan. The Hatters jerseys with just the blank, like the lettering across the front. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm an old school guy. I like defensive hockey, and I like the old school threads.
I think we all know that.
I like the old school threads, and I think the Mad Hatters jerseys entered the Lucas P. Jones Hall of Fame with those mullets jerseys. I think they're my other favorites. So great job on the threads, and nice job through September.
Let's go to another 2-win team at the 9 spot. This is a team that I think last year plays a lot into it because some of the guys that returned for them, the Johnny Shears, the Matthew Menkauses, I think that they do enough to keep them in the top 10 at number 9, off to a slow start, but an extremely young team, Tampa Bay Juniors.
Yeah, the Juniors, they're one of those teams that I think is starting to find their footing, and I think they started to find it through that showcase as well. You know, they're a young squad, which always gives you a little bit of uncertainty, but they've got really nice depth. They've got a lot of youth, which means they've got the endurance. We're talking to Coach Garrett Strode. He's like, these guys can skate forever. And that's what you want out of a young team, and that's what you want out of your number 9 team on the power rankings.
We go to number 8, and this is a tough one because this is where I needed to put a team from the Mid-Atlantic. I wanted to put a team from the Mid-Atlantic here, and I went Rockets could be, Aviators could be, Hitmen could be. What I will tell you is personally, I think the Aviators are the team here, but just the resume right now doesn't say to me that they've grabbed it. I think the Hitmen heading down to that showcase in Virginia, they were able to do enough for the Dan K show to take the 8 spot. Jersey Hitmen and 8.
Yeah, we tend to give a little bit of priority to teams that venture outside of their division.
Yeah.
The Hitmen have done that. That's one of our things. We look at how has a team ventured or how have they played when they venture outside their division, playing different styles, playing different squads. So the Hitmen have gone down to that Southern Showcase. They did well enough to earn that 8th spot. I think we both agree.
And they beat the Atlanta Mad Hatters 5-4. That was a nice, hard-fought game there. I think that's a big win. They split with the New Jersey Rockets, so the Rockets, they didn't dominate the Hitmen, so they don't jump them there. That's why the Hitmen sit there at number 8. Number 7, this is an interesting one. We go to the Boston Bandits with 2 wins this year. Their 2 losses, shootout loss, OT loss. They've yet to lose in regulation. I think in the North right now, they're one of the top teams.
Yeah, the Boston Bandits are a squad that if you follow the show last year, I was really excited about at a lot of different levels of hockey. And like you said, you look at their 2 losses, and their losses where they essentially went the distance. They've got a great goal differential in that North Division. They're playing defense like nobody's business, and they have some great goaltending as well.
That's exactly right. We go on to number 6, and this is where it started getting contentious. We get a bit passionate about these power rankings, and the way we do these power rankings is in a way that it's the actual product on the ice. I'm so tired of the idea of the contabulations in the world of sport. The contabulations are what happens on the ice, and these gentlemen that put in all this work don't put in all this work to be ventured down to numbers, and math. They're ventured down to who they are on the ice and the passion they're putting into it. And talk about passion from a 6-0-0-1 Florida Eels side in the number 6 spot.
Yeah, this team was fast, man. They are fast, they are physical, and they can score. They're putting up goals and assists in a crazy way. And there's a lot of talent. I think one of the biggest things, talking to Frank Scarpacci about both of these Eels teams, they're global, right? This is a very global squad at the elite level, so they need that time to find it. And if they're 6-0-0-1 and they haven't found it yet, what's going to happen when this team starts to mesh? This is going to be a dangerous squad to deal with.
This is going to be a team that I think has the possibility, has the ability to win the Florida Elite Division by double digits. I think they have that kind of runaway mentality that the Hitmen had last year in the NCDC. That is how skilled I think this team is. I compare them a lot to that Hitmen NCDC squad, and I looked at them this weekend that way. They've got the leading point getter in the USPHL Elite right now, defenseman Zechariah Thomas. And this young man's putting on a skate show, man, definitely taking those figure skating lessons because he was spinning all over the ice, making plays happen. 4 goals, 13 assists for him. Little Joey Duzak there, little Joey D, the Joey Bag of Donuts in him there.
You gotta love it. You gotta love a defenseman who gets the assists. We talked about, kind of the floor and the ceiling of a team. I think this team has one of the highest ceilings in the Elite Division.
They also have Gavin Funky Cool Medina at the winger position there. Which side is Gavin on? The right winger position. I almost called him a left winger. Sorry, Gavin Funky Cool Medina. Go to number 5. And this is going to make some people mad because this is always a team that people think should be higher up. They should be lower. This is that. Number 5, 4-2-0-0, the Hampton Roads Whalers.
Well, and the Hampton Roads Whalers, they put on that great showcase, and I think I like what I see at the elite level from them. They've got some good scorers. I think one of their weak points might be their defense. And once you start getting into that top 5 in any power rankings, the conversation starts to become more and more about your defensive effort. They have a +8 goal differential right now. I think that defensive effort and their ability to stop teams is something that they need to work on to move their way up.
Do you remember me with Matt Irwin last year?
Yes.
First power ranking show of the year, we had argued over the Northern Cyclones, and the Cyclones ended up in the 5 spot on the first power rankings of the year in the elite level. And I said, Matt Irwin is such a difference maker, this team could win a national championship. And we talked about it, we fought about it, we kept him at 5. Evan Miles is this year's Matt Irwin. Evan Miles, if you have not watched this young man play yet, if you've not seen Joe Polcaro as well, you must see them now. You can't waste any time, man. Evan Miles is the real deal. Big time effort. We'll have a goal from him later in the show in the empty net. This Hampton Roads Whalers team can make some real big moves. The Rush did get him twice, though, early in the year at home.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough because this Rush team is so good. But yeah, with Evan Miles in that squad, you want to talk about a kid that personifies for the love of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's got going on right now. Be interesting to see the way that tough Southeast Division shapes up.
And as you can see me drinking a double the size coffee this week, I mean, he was a guy who gave me energy. I was tiring out. We were on broadcast number 12, and all of a sudden, Evan Miles comes out of nowhere, man, with just a nonstop ticker, nonstop effort. And that young man, that was an inspiring performance from Evan Miles, man. I thank you, Evan Miles, for putting that effort out there every day, babe. How about number 4? Northern Cyclones, and this was contentious. This is where the contention started happening. Lucas did not agree. Lucas, talk about why you didn't agree with me on this.
I have trouble putting a team
You do have a lot of trouble.
I have a lot of troubles. Mostly with my knees at my advanced age of 28 and a half. I had trouble with teams that haven't played a ton of games yet. Because as much as we talk about the intangibles, there has to be some consideration for the data. And the more data points you get on a team, that's why later in the year it becomes a little bit easier to differentiate things. But without enough data points, it's really hard to paint a picture of a team. Now, the Northern Cyclones, 2 games into the season.
So what? It's a power.
2 games into the season.
I don't care. I care about your roster. I care about the fact that you're returning Keenan Waters, who's Splash City, baby. We're taking it to Waters World. This guy is putting pucks in the back of the net. I care about Jacob Krempa, who's making things happen as a returner. I care about the man who owns his own maple syrup conglomerate, the lumberjack, Mike Giordano. And I care about the fact that I'm seeing Mark Giordano joining the club, scoring a goal in his first 2 games with it. We get the Giordano squared going on with these guys. And I just think that there's energy in this Cyclones organization. And this team, I think the hockey gods are looking down at them saying, they could have won it last year, maybe should have won it last year, and they didn't. This might be the year.
It might be the year, and as much as I agree with you, Dan, that there is a lot of energy and that there is a lot of depth and potential in this squad, I think right now it's in theory. So for the Northern Cyclones, I mean, show me, right? This is a show me team. It's a show me spot in the power rankings. You've played 2 games. You've impressed Dan so far, and in theory you've impressed me as well. Show us what you've got in the month of October.
Prove them wrong like you've been doing, baby. You did it last year, Northern Cyclones. Do it again. Let's go. Dan K loves the Northern Cyclones. Let's go number 3. In the Elite, defending champions at number 3 in the first power rankings. Oh no. Oh no. It's going to make some people upset. The Richmond Generals dropped 2 spots from the national championship post there.
Well, the Richmond Generals do have a pretty solid team there, sitting at number 3.
6-2-0-0.
6-2-0-0. They've got a great goal differential. They're putting in quite a bit of offensive effort, and I like their lockdown defense. They've only given up 10 goals in 8 games. That's a pretty phenomenal number as well. They have some key losses, though. You can't talk about them yet because we're going to get to those key losses, I think, in a second.
They moved up there.
But you've got some teams above them. I mean, number 3 in the Elite is not a bad place to be after a tough Southern Showcase.
Exactly right, and they battled through it. We saw a couple of fun games with that Richmond Elite squad. I love R.C. Like behind the bench. Love the Elite Premier, both coached by R.C. Like. You love that as well. These are guys who last year were shouting, "Get off my lawn," and this year they have to get that same mentality back. They got to start battling through that Southeast, and you're going to figure out who you are because top 3 teams right now in our Elite Power Rankings, all from the Southeast. You lose Matt Doherty. And that's a big loss for this Elite squad because he moved up to the Premier level. Rob Simmons is a guy who's now slotted in with 6 goals and an assist so far early in the season. Rob Simmons has to take on that Doherty role. He's going to have to score, man. He's going to have to score the way Doherty did and the way Boulay did. He's going to have to take on a lot on his shoulders right now. Let's keep going, though. Number 2. You know, you just, new team, new name, new jerseys, big success. And we apologize to this organization for missing out on all the success this weekend because they were the talk of the gosh darn nation this weekend at the Elite level. 7-0-0-0. What does that mean they are?
Undefeated.
Undefeated. Never lost. Never lost right there. 38 goals for, 12 goals against. It's the Carolina Junior Canes, man, and these guys are sugar sweet right now.
They are just putting pucks in the back of the net, man.
Non-stop.
They are absolutely firing them in there. They've got a great size squad. They've got the speed to back it up. New team to the USPHL. You talk about a statement. That's a statement to the rest of the league.
Want to talk about a real statement? How about new team to the USPHL? What was the championship matchup last year in the Elite? It was the Richmond Generals against the Tampa Bay Juniors. Guess what the Canes have done against the two national champion competition teams? They sweep the Richmond Generals and they beat the Tampa Juniors. They are 3-0 against the teams that played in the national championship last year. That is unbelievable. That's incredible. That's great work from Carolina, and Carolina has put themselves on the absolute map of the Dan K Show early. We will be covering them this year.
Absolutely. We're excited to get to our first Carolina Junior Canes game. We're sorry that we missed out on them in the showcase.
We apologize again. We tend to apologize a lot. Apologies, Joey Fatone, and apologies to Carolina Junior Hurricanes.
But we will certainly be doing one of those games soon enough.
Number one. There's only one team left here. There's only one chance. There's only one other team left that's undefeated, never lost, and it's the team that Dan K at the beginning of the year said would win 15 consecutive games. They've won 8 consecutive to start. Will they win 15 consecutive to start the year?
That would be the ultimate statement, and it would really take a load off your shoulders too.
Immediately.
You won't have to be worrying about anything. The Charlotte Rush in the Elite right now are averaging above 5 goals a game.
Yep.
Forget defense.
Yep.
Right? When your offense is so good that you can make Lucas J say forget defense,
Yep.
That's how you know you've got a top quality offense. They're skating circles around some of these other guys. They're rolling 4 lines deep. One of the most impressive teams, I think, in September.
They're going to make it very interesting here in October, though. A perfect September of 8-0-0-0. Look at this schedule coming up. 2 games at home, October 12th and 13th against the Colonials. That'll be tough. Then they go on the road into Richmond. And Richmond's not a fun place to play for a visiting team, I can tell you that much. And if they want to be the man this year, they got to beat the man, baby. Woo! And that's what they're going to have to do in Richmond, because Richmond they have the rings, they have the banners, they got them up there over that rink right there in Richmond, Virginia, and that is going to be an absolute battle. Then after that, what do? Face the undefeated Junior Canes, and that will be in a matchup for the ages. A huge month of October, Lucas, where they're going to have to play the 3rd and 2nd place teams in our power rankings back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, that is going to be a difficult month, but it makes me even more excited for our October power rankings.
Charlotte Rush number 1, Carolina Junior Canes number 2. At 3rd, the Richmond Generals, your defending Elite National champions. At 4, the Northern Cyclones, Dan K's pick. At number 5, the Hampton Roads Whalers and Evan Miles, taking it Miles. At number 6, the Florida Eels. Number 7, the Boston Bandits, stealing wins from everybody. At 8, the Jersey Hitmen, hitting them up. At 9, the Tampa Bay Juniors. And at 10, the Atlanta Mad Hatters. I guess the only thing we have to do now is the Premier Power Rankings.
You are watching The Dan K Show. Everything USPHL. From the NCDC to the Premier and Elite Leagues. The Dan K Show with Dan K and Lucas Jones.
All right, those Elite Power Rankings were contentious at times, but I think we did a good job agreeing. And where we're going to start here for the Premier Power Rankings, it's Premier Power Rankings time, folks. 10 teams out of 52. Have to pick 10 of 52. That is not easy. This is tough to do. You disagree with it? Let us know. And then also, keep winning games. You'll get in the next one. Number 10. I said Springfield Picks. What'd you say?
I said Utica Junior Comets.
And I looked at that, and I looked at everything. And I said the Picks, 3-1-0. The Picks, 18-6 in goals for against goals against, plus 12 goal differential. I said the Picks have done a bunch of stuff. I had all these great arguments. And then I looked and said, oh yeah, And also, 9 days ago, the Picks beat the Utica Junior Comets head-to-head in a shootout.
And I looked at the Utica Junior Comets and I said, look, they're 5-1-0-1. Okay. They've got 11 points. They're first in the Northeast.
Yep.
They've got a better goal differential than the Springfield Picks do. They've got wins against the Bruins and the New Hampshire Monarchs, who are currently in first place in their division.
At home.
And I said it's got to be the Utica Junior Comets, despite the fact that the Springfield Picks beat them, because it was one game. That game ended in a shootout victory for the Picks, which on the Lucas Jones scale of head-to-head matchups, we know two things. We know that one, I don't count games that happened months ago, which doesn't apply here. And two,
It's 9 days.
I don't necessarily weight shootout victories as heavily as if the Picks
just
had
makes
won
up rules.
5-2, sure. If the Picks had won 4-2, 3-2, sure, no problem. But a shootout is a coin flip. You can't call that a head-to-head victory. It's one game.
It's such a joke here. I mean, you look at it, the Springfield Picks. You want to tell me that this is the September power rankings, either the power rankings after the month of September, then this month of September has to factor in. And if I have to look at all these things, and I look at a game where these two teams got a chance to get on the ice together, ice, even playing field, and they both get 33 shots on goal, by the way. They both took 7 penalties in the game. They both had the same percentage on the power play. It was completely even, but the Picks won. All I can do is look at that and say the Picks have to be the team, because I have to pick the team that won the head-to-head, or else what we're doing is chaos, and we might as well be the Joker in this movie Batman.
All I'm saying is that in that situation, a head-to-head victory is not weighted as heavily as a head-to-head victory where it was won in regulation. Shootouts are a totally different animal. The Utica Junior Comets have proven themselves in more games than the Springfield Picks have. Therefore, they are more of a proven team than the Springfield Picks are.
I can't stomach this argument. I'm going to say number 10, the Chicago Cougars.
5-1-0-0. First place in division.
Deal. Chicago Cougars, number 10. Utica Comets, Springfield Picks. We're going to put a little something on this. We'll think about what it is. Let us know, Utica Comets and Springfield Picks fans, or hockey fans around the USPHL, what you think we should wager. Punishment for Lucas, punishment for Dan, as to who has the better month. By the end of October, the team with the better month, the other guy gets punished with something. Let's talk it through. Let us know, Springfield Picks, Utica Junior Comets, and just know that this argument has kept you at the 11A spot.
11A and 11B?
Yeah, that's what we're at right now. Chicago Cougars, number 10. They've been great. Yasajenko has been stellar. The guy is an absolute meteorite flying around the ice. Speaking of meteorites, that was pretty good. He was pumped about that.
Pretty pumped.
Number 9 is a brand new team again. What is happening this year with these new teams? A 52-team Premier Division with some of the best athletes in the gosh darn country, in the gosh darn world of hockey, and the Fort Wayne Spaceman, Major Dan, to goal control. These guys have 31 goals for in 3. Count them. 3 games. I'm bad at math, but that's like a billion goals a game.
That is 10 1/3 goals a game.
Got it. Close. I was close.
They absolutely deserve that 9th spot, especially being a new team in the USPHL. That amount of goals scored is just incredible.
It's unfair.
The one thing that you do have to look at is that they're also giving up 3 1/3 goals a game, which is a number that is a little higher than you like. But again, beginning of the season, the numbers are a little bit of an aberration. You have to go past the numbers. You see the insane goal differential. If they keep it up, they might surpass a goal record from another team that happened last year in the Premier.
Yes, they might.
I'm excited to see what the Spacemen continue to do.
Spacemen v. Aviators in a race to the gosh darn moon right now. Jared Fisher, 8 goals, 8 assists in 3 games. He's averaging 5.3 points per game as an individual scorer. He's got 3 power play goals, 4 power play assists. He is on a better pace than 10 teams in the Premier alone. That's unreal. That's inhuman. Let's keep moving before I blow a gasket. Number 8, we stay with a little bit of a Midwest, Great Lakes theme. Toledo, Cherokee. Lucas, these are your guys. Tell me why you had to have them here, because I didn't have them in my top 10, folks. Lucas did.
I've got the Toledo Cherokee because they're top of this Great Lakes division, and the Great Lakes division has seen some really good competition so far, very early in the season. You got 4 or 6 teams with a non-negative goal differential. You've got the Lake Erie Bighorns, who are are 15 and 15 in terms of goals for, goals against. But this is a competitive division. I like what the Toledo Cherokee have done. They've played some good games so far. They've managed to avoid those telltale blowouts that you sometimes get when a team is too offensively focused, right?
Yeah.
If they get shut down, sometimes they'll get blown out. They've got more goals than the Metro Jets in less games. Their defense, again, potentially an area of concern. In 6 games, they've given up 18 goals. That is, of course, 3 goals a game. That's right on that borderline that you want to try to avoid in that Premier Division. But I think Toledo Cherokee have done enough so far to earn that spot.
Yeah, you bring up the goals against. I don't like the defensive side of it right now as much as I want to have them in the top 10. That's why I didn't have them there. I had some other teams that I looked at ahead of them right now, just in terms of kind of where they're at schedule-wise. But this Cherokee team has done nothing but impress. Prove me wrong, babes. Let's go. Keep yourself up there in the top 10. Right now, you're being called the 8th best team in the nation. 8th best team in the nation. It's a lot to live up to. Target on your back right there. Talk about a target on your back as an organization. At number 7, again, number 2 in the elite, number 7 in the Premier. It's their first year, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a storm alert right now, a storm surge going on down there in Carolina. North Carolina, come on and raise up. Take your gloves off, twist them around your head, swing them like a helicopter, like that old song from back in the day. Remember that song?
I do not.
And just take your shirt off, twist it around your head, swing it like a helicopter. It was about North Carolina. It was a song.
I will believe you, but
It was a song.
certainly
Look it up.
never.
Look it up if you haven't seen it. It's a little bit before some of your times, you players out there. But the Carolina Junior Canes at 5-3, 0-0 with 10 points, 26 goals for, 22 against. They grabbed that next spot at number 7. You look at their season this year. Key wins. They split with the Colonials. They beat the Richmond Generals twice. They beat the Hitmen as well. But they did lose to the Eels and Tampa Bay Juniors.
Yeah, and that's why I think they're kind of where they are, because it's a little bit of a 50-50 game right now, especially with some interesting losses, but some good wins. And I think that's one of the hallmarks of the September Power Rankings, is that you have to kind of dive in and try to make some sense maybe out of things that don't make any sense. But I think I like this Carolina Junior Canes team. Huge statement that they're in the top 10 at the elite and the Premier level.
We just said that they lost to a team here, the Florida Eels, and that's who's at number 6. And I think this is my most intriguing team in the top 10. Because I've been talking with Frank Scarpacci, I was talking with a lot of the guys out there, and if hockey were a one-on-one individual game of skill, this would be my number 1 team in the USPHL Premier right now. Individually, talent-wise, this team is the most talented in my mind.
Yeah, they've got all the pieces to the puzzle, man. They've got Demid Podrazov, Jake Court, Gage Dill, Adam Gaudet. I mean, you just...
Maxim Terchenko, Jared Figueroa, TJ Zebley, who's a speedster.
You keep going down the list, and you're just going to keep getting these names. And like you said, Dan, the one-on-one matchups, they're so incredibly skilled. But I think it's the same story for the Eels in the Premier that it is in the Elite. They win the one-on-ones, but they're vulnerable to good team play. And I think we saw that a little bit talking to the coach on the bench. He said a little bit of the same thing. He said, these guys have to kind of stop slapping the puck around. They have to start working together as a team. And I think October, November will be the deciding months. If by November this team has not coalesced into a unit, that might spell some trouble for the Florida Eels squad. But right now, I think they're very talented and deserve that 6th spot.
Eyes and minds and minds don't work in this game, man. It's teamwork that makes the dream work, and that's what you got to look for with the Eels right now. And if they get that teamwork going, watch out, because they're going to be a freight train rolling down the tracks with the amount of skilled skaters they have on the ice and the good goaltending that they get. And Mazargas and the rest of the boys there. Number 5. Metro Jets. And Lucas had these guys back, and I fought for these Metro Jets as hard as I could. But I will give you this, Lucas. Since I fought for these guys, I will give you this. Yes, you could have put them back because they got 2 losses. Their 2 losses, though, against the Charlotte Rush team and against the Hampton Roads team, matched up at the wrong time. They're on the road. Those are 2 really tough losses against 2 top 10 teams in the power rankings. And you look at this, I will give you this much. The 3rd and 4th forward lines, you got to get that identity, and I think this is something we've all talked about. You got to get an identity now. You got to start to take it on, and you can't lean too heavily on the Sonatos and Grahams of the world to put the puck in the net.
Yeah, and We do have the Metro Jets slotted above the Toledo Cherokee. And I think that's because, like I said before, once you get into that top 5, it becomes more about your defensive efforts, right? Your ability to stop guys from scoring the puck on your team. What I will say for the Metro Jets is they do have a lot of offensive skill, but I'd like to see them cut down on teams kind of slashing their way through their defense.
Well, I mean, they've only allowed 11 goals in 7 games. I mean, what else are they supposed to do defensively? They've allowed less than 2 a game.
Well, no, I'm talking more about, and this is one of those interesting things where when you get to watch a team, you get a little more familiar with them. And they were getting some pretty intense zone pressure from a lot of teams. They are very skilled, and I think now that we've talked about it, I can see why we're slotting them higher, and that makes a lot of sense. But again, I think, like you said, it's this Metro Jets team that needs to find an identity for their 3rd and 4th lines. They need to figure out a personality. Yeah. I think that's what it's missing. This Metro Jets team will figure out their personality when they get some more games under their belt. They have the potential, I think, to be a very, very dangerous team and a month-to-month competitor in these power rankings.
And Coach Quenneville with that Metro Jets team is not a guy who settles. He's not a guy who settles, and he was not happy with the losses to the Rush and the Whalers, and he's not going to take excuses. He's not going to look at the schedule and say, oh, well, we were back-ended by them, and, you know, it was early in their showcase, late in ours, or this, that, or the other thing. No, he's going to look at it and say, they were the better team, they outplayed us, they out-hustled us, they out-efforted us, and we got beat on the ice, and it's unacceptable, and it's not going to happen again. And I can guarantee you, Coach Quenneville, back to the drawing board with these boys, and these boys have to look, and you got to look yourself in the mirror right now after that weekend, and you have to look in the mirror and you have to say, are we going to lean on the Sonatos? It reminds me of the Hampton Roads Whalers last year, early in the year at the Premier. They started to lean way too heavily on Brandon Osmondson and John Malkovich, and they started to, what would happen, up against it, physical play from a team going up against them, they would all look down the bench. Okay, Oz, okay, Mock, go score it for us. You can't. You have to score it. That 3rd line scoring, that 4th line scoring, defensemen getting involved on the offensive side of the ice, making big block shots, netminders stepping up. That's what it's going to take. You're going to need it all season long. This Metro Jets team has national championship written all over it. If they can piece it together, babe, let's go.
And one of the great things about that team, too, is their mentality, right? They're mentally strong, and talking to Coach Quenneville on the bench, he said, last year is last year.
Yep.
This year is this year. We have talented skaters, we have a good squad, and we are looking ahead at this year's national championship, and we are not looking back at last year.
Know what's fun? We agreed, without knowing, we do these blindly, both on our own. We perfectly in unison agreed on 4, 3, 2, 1. Lucas, why don't you introduce number 4 to the folks at home?
Number 4, if you've been watching the show, you know that we love watching this team. You know that they're talented every single year. Number 4, we're going Antlers up.
Boom, baby!
For the Minnesota Moose. Number 4, the Minnesota Moose coming into this one 4-1-0-0, 23 goals for, 13 goals against. Man, they're talented.
They're so talented. This Moose team, they've gone out there and they physical you up, they body you up, and I told you earlier in the year, I said I feel like a Midwest team is going to make a title run this year, and right now out of the gates, the Moose are my team that I'd say get the heck out of the way of, because these boys are ready to run some folks over this year.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to watch how this Midwest develops. We wouldn't be surprised to see a number of Midwest teams making a case for nationals towards the end of the year.
We go to number 3 now. Number 3 is an interesting one. A lot of places you could go with this.
Mm-hmm.
But I go to a place, a team that's split with a very good squad, a team that showed up and dominated at a showcase, and a team that beat the Metro Jets 3-1 on neutral ice. I think they did everything you have to do to get a top 3 spot in our premier power rankings, and I couldn't think of any other place to put them. Charlotte Rush, big time, 30 goals for, 14 against. I got them at number 3. Number 1 in the elite, number 3 in the premier. Talk about dominance in Charlotte.
Yeah, and it's an organizational thing, right? Talking to Coach Trevor Jewell, he said it best. He said, this is a family. We're an organization that puts these guys at the forefront. We move freely from the elite to premier. And this premier team, they've got the size, they've got the speed, and they've got the physicality. You know, a lot of teams, they run into that rush wall, and they don't really know how to handle it. And what ends up happening is teams start taking penalties because they have trouble with that physicality. Charlotte Rush, man, they are an intimidating force. Their reputation for being that physical, intense team is that the first thing to arrive at the rink before the team actually gets there.
Yeah, and you look at Artem Mikhailov and Ilya Grekos and Maxim Penishkin, and Penishkin, and Philip Shemyakin, and Caden Halverson, Max Bork, Gino DeBlasis. These guys are just goal scorers aplenty. They get out there and they don't just score the goals, they make the big hits and they make you think twice. You look between the pipes and they have 3 goaltenders that on any given day can shut you down. Luke Fox with a 1.28 goals against, a .947 saves. Jack Rydell, who they've been riding all season long, 1.55 with a .942. He's 4-1 in net. And Dawson Carley, who in 2 starts has a 2 goals against. This team just can stop it. They can score it. They can hit you. They can play all sides of the ice, and that's what makes them so difficult. Speaking of all sides of the ice, speaking about undefeated, one of only 2 undefeated squads with more than 1 game under their belt in the Premier, and it is the Islanders Hockey Club led by Tim Kirkostas, and this team, this could be dangerous this year.
They absolutely can be. They are 4-0-0. They have not lost a single game, no way, no how, and they've only given up 9 goals in 4 games, so they're staying right around defensively where you know they want to be. This is also a team that has been incredibly successful with NCDC in the rink.
Yep.
Right? And we've had the conversation about how it is sometimes difficult to maintain those premier and elite squads with NCDC in the rink because of you got guys moving up, you got guys moving in and out, and you've got that extra team, right? And so to have this premier team that's undefeated and moving really, really well on the offensive and defensive sides with elite below and NCDC above is really impressive.
What I like the most about the Islanders Hockey Club right now is just the bouquet of wins. All these teams playing these 2-game weekends, you know, sometimes you just thump a team on your home ice. Sometimes you go and a team's a little off and you kind of take advantage of them. You get 2 quick wins against them. This is a team that's played 4 different squads to get their 4 wins. They beat South Shore, they beat the Bandits, they beat New Hampshire Monarchs, they beat Northern Cyclones. They've absolutely dominated the New England region, which is always a very, very difficult region. And they've beaten them so badly that it kept the other teams, not in the sense of goals scored, but the fact that they've beaten each of them is what's kept the other teams from New England out of our top 10 on this round.
Yeah, and that's a pretty impressive feat, right? Because you look at all these other teams and you think, well, should they be in the top 10? And then say, well, IHC beat them. Well,
Yeah,
IHC beat them.
That's the problem. That's literally what happened to us on this trip. It was, how do we put this team in above X team if they haven't played cross-division yet,
Right.
and IHC beat them? And that's what kept teams out for this situation. IHC beat this team, beat this team. And you look at guys like Matthew Tartaglio. You look at guys like Sam Dorfman, Ryan Barrett. You look at Justin Stairs, who's climbing stairs all season long. And you look between the pipes, and you see Trey Peterson and Nathan Bordelais, and you know they're going to get the puck stop when they need it.
Both guys above that .900 save percentage. Peterson with that .94, which you'll love to see
Trey
from
Peterson, man,
goaltenders.
3 times the good. He's Trey.
This is the kind of team you want to see going forward. Only 4 games in September, but the season chugs along as it tends to do, and we'll see how Islanders Hockey Club continues to improve.
Number 1.
Don't look at me like that.
Number 1.
Don't look at me like that.
I want Lucas to say who's number 1. Lucas, because you know what I think? I think you should say it. Say who's number 1, please. Who is number 1 in the Premier Power Rankings, Lucas? Say it again. A little louder.
It's the Hampton Roads Whalers.
Not a big deal. Not a big deal, folks. The Hampton Roads Whalers Magic in the Hamptons again in September. They split with the Charlotte Rush, so that was a toss-up about who goes first. But in this case, the tiebreaker was defending national champion 2 years in a row. You go that way. We also saw a team that it almost seemed like they started to find themselves in the showcase this weekend. And Kalen Daly is my favorite player in the world right now. He does it on a reg, does it on the daily. DJ Randall, yo DJ, that's my DJ, just popping goals in the back of the net at the big level right now with the big boys. Cole Hedquist, cashing him in when he gets the chance as well. You look at Mr. McGeever, who's MacGyver quick up there. This team doesn't stop. They're relentless. Rodrigue and Moon and net. They got 2 goaltenders that can go out and win you a showcase. These guys are still the bee's knees. They're number 1 for me.
This Hampton Roads Whalers team might be the deepest team in the entire Premier Division. They impressed me so much from top to bottom, from first line to fourth line, down 3 defensemen. And they lost Kavanaugh at the defense at the showcase to injury.
A huge leader too. Great kid, Nolan Kavanaugh, man.
And so now they're down to 4 defensemen as of this past weekend. They're so talented. They're such a deep team. It's going to make it really, really difficult for me to pick against them again this year.
Gonna have to, because they will be very mad at you if you pick them.
They don't want it.
Lucas jinxed them when he went to the bench for his bench interview and they gave up a goal. That's just kind of how it works. Let's run back through this top 10. Number 1 in the Premier right now, according to the Dan K Show, the Hampton Roads Whalers. Number 2, the Islanders Hockey Club. Number 3, the Charlotte Rush. Number 4, the Minnesota Moose. Number 5, those Metro Jets. Number 6, the Florida Eels, very talented. Number 7, the Carolina Junior Canes, baby. Let's go so sweet there in Carolina. Number 8, the Toledo Cherokee. Number 9, the Fort Wayne Spaceman. Major Tom to Dan K Control. And number 10, the Chicago Cougars, because we couldn't stop arguing about Utica and Springfield. That's it for our top 10. And Lucas, now we go to an empty net that's not going to involve any talking from us, but it's going to involve the highest of the highs, the best of the best from Evan Miles. And a funny way, because it was sent to us by Mr. Schanberger, but a bit of a low moment there on the other end. Welcome to the empty net.
Camden Schanberger here. Last chance. If he puts this one in, it's over. If it's stopped by Mazargas, we'll have one last chance for the Eels for the win. Schanberger goes left side, slowly entering, loses his edge, and down he goes, and then dangled away by Mazargas. And that's one that's going to hurt. Even his own side is letting him hear it. That's going to end up on the gram.
Yeah, that's good.
That's going to end up on the gram, babe.
Oh, man. Evan Miles, man. Evan Miles and Kalen Daly, 2 of my favorites in the game right now, and also Mr. Schanberger there. I am speechless. Rendered speechless. I was rendered speechless on the broadcast. I still don't have the words for it, babe. Love the way you've leaned into it. He's the one who sent us the clip, folks. He sent us the clip, so you better make the show this week. Love you, babe. Stick with it, Cammy. Lucas, sum up that moment with your parting words, your closing words to the show. Let's hear them. He's got nothing. I got nothing else. We've got nothing for you. We've got no voices left, and I have to get to sleep. We got 2 hours of sleep when we got back. Worked all day on the power rankings. I got to get a full night in sooner or later, but we don't got that much time for it. When Dan K's on the mic, it's always hockey night. We'll be at the Hit Men Classic in 2 weeks. Stay tuned, folks. Dan K Show's coming to you soon.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I ran out of coffee halfway through, and I don't think I had enough left in me.
No.
I am done. I am baked. I am toasted. I want another steak from Chef Troy, too.
I do want another steak.
I unsuccessfully kidnapped him. I was trying to take him home.
You know what the worst part was going home today? My apartment, I had to walk by like 2 steakhouses to get to my coffee shop. So I just wanted to like...
Chef Troy with like the rare burger, too.
And you know what?
It's rare someone makes a rare burger.
Yeah. And the little bit of smoked paprika on the green beans.
Oh,
nice little touch.
The dude gets it.
Yeah.
He gets it.
We're mostly about food on the show.
Somehow.